Welcome to another installment of Conrad's Car Clinic, a look into the mechanical side of all things automotive on In Wheel Time. Here's Conrad DeLong. .com. Well, time now for this week's Conrad's Car Clinic. And what are we going to do with the car clinic
it's
today?
Summertime. People are taking their boat to the, and we talked about Haggerty insuring boats. People are taking their boat to the lake, and they're using their pickup truck to get them in and out of the lake. And people need to understand that if you're dropping something in and out of the lake with some frequency, you need to be doing some certain maintenance things to that vehicle to make sure that long-term, all of that water that the truck's ingesting doesn't create you issues.
And the trailer, too, by the way.
Absolutely. The trailer wheel bearings, you need to make sure you're greasing those on a regular basis, using the correct grease, not just the cheapest grease you can find. You want to find one that's is not water soluble, one that's going to stand up to the water. It's also going to stand up to the heat. On your truck, you want to make sure you're paying attention to the driveline. Since you're pulling a boat on the hot summer days, that creates a lot of extra demand on the driveline components. So you want to start with, probably at the beginning of the season, is to change the fluid inside your front and rear differential, and also inside your transfer case. That one of the things about the fluid inside the transfer case, use a new fluid that is made for transfer cases, not just automatic transmission fluid. A lot of people are just putting automatic transmission fluid in it, and I think there's some lubricity issues that transfer case fluid provides over and above the ATF fluid.
When I think of transfer cases, I think of a gearbox like a regular 6-speed, 8-speed transmission, a manual transmission with, transmission oil for that, not automatic
ATF,
transmission.
Yeah, you'll find a lot of manufacturers even are just throwing ATF in them. Because it's
really?
Because it's easier on them. It's less parts coming in, so they put ATF in the automatic transmission and in the transfer case. So,
did you know that, Morris?
No, I didn't. Yeah. So, putting the correct gear oil in is very, very important, and changing it, especially when you're towing and putting something in and out of the water on a regular basis, is real important, and you want to use the correct gear oil. The other thing is make sure especially because you're towing, is change your engine oil on a regular basis more frequently than you normally do. And, I'm going to tell you to use a real high quality oil supplement. Also, you want to pay attention to your fuel system. When you're going in and out of the water, there are vents in your differential transfer case, in your fuel system as well. There's a vent. And if that vent is operated while you're in the water on the fuel system for the evaporative emission system, you're going to ingest water into your fuel tank. So you want to make sure you're using a high quality fuel dryer in your fuel on a probably every third or fourth tank when you're doing a lot of boat ramp work, because replacing that fuel pump can cost you up to $1,000. While you're in the water, your brakes are completely submerged in the water. So you want to make sure you're changing your brake fluid on a regular interval when you're doing that. Cooling system service is pretty important, because when you're towing, you're creating that much more stress on the engine. So getting all that old contaminated fluid out and filling it up with fresh new fortified fluid coolant is very, very important. And remember that your cooling system, the radiator, is also what cools your transmission fluid. So all of that kind of comes together in making sure that your cooling system's operating correctly. And then finally, you want to make sure that you have a clean engine air filter in the vehicle, because your engine air filters acts kind of like your nose. If your nose is stuffy, you don't feel good, everything else is bad, and you're not getting in enough air to the engine. So changing that air filter at the beginning of the season.
And you made fun of me about my comparisons. Well, there you have it.
Taking care of these things in the spring will help your truck last longer through the summer as you're in and out of the boat ramp so frequently.
Yeah, exactly.
And save you a lot of money long term.
I didn't think about the quality of the grease, because back in my day, grease was grease.
Right. Never
paid any attention to it. But you're right, exactly, because some is water soluble and some is not.
Right. Yeah. And when you're talking about axle grease, the front axle on your pickup truck that you used to have to take the bearings out and re-grease, right, that's all sealed.
Yes.
Axles and trailers are not always all sealed, so you really need to make sure you hunt for the correct kind of grease.
Good. Thank you very much. Conrad's Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of In Wheel Time.